The call came at 2:47 a.m. My 8-year-old son's voice was barely a whisper, trembling. "Dad, I'm bleeding." She locked me in the bathroom. "Please, please come get me." The line went dead. My hands were already reaching for my keys before my mind caught up. I'd faced terrorists in 3 countries, but nothing had ever made my blood run this cold. Hit like, subscribe for more betrayal stories, and comment your city or country. I broke every speed limit getting to Natalie's apartment across town. The digital clock on my dashboard seemed to mock me. 3:04 a.m., 3:11 a.m., 3:18 a.m. Each minute felt like an hour. Oliver's whisper kept replaying in my head. "Bleeding. Locked in. Please come get me." My name is Tristan Cole. 6 years as a Navy SEAL, 2 tours overseas, more classified operations than I'm allowed to talk about. I'd been trained to stay calm under pressure, to assess threats, to execute missions with surgical precision. But right now, I was just a terrified father driving like a madman through empty streets. The apartment complex looked quiet. Too quiet. 3rd floor, Unit 312. I dropped Oliver off here Friday afternoon, just like every other weekend per our custody agreement. He'd seemed fine. A little quiet maybe, but fine. Had I missed something? Was I so caught up in my own routine that I'd failed to see the signs? I took the stairs 3 at a time. My fist hammered against the door. "Natalie, open up." Nothing. I knocked again, harder this time. "Natalie, I swear to God." The door cracked open. My ex-wife stood there in a silk robe, her makeup smeared, eyes glassy. Behind her, some guy I'd never seen before lounged on the couch in boxers and a tank top, beer in hand, watching me like I was interrupting his show. "What the hell, Tristan?" Natalie's voice was slurred. "It's 3 in the morning. You can't just—" "Where's Oliver?" "He's sleeping." "Jesus, you're so dramatic," he called me. I pushed past her into the apartment. The place reeked of cigarettes and cheap whiskey. "Oliver. Ollie, where are you? You can't just barge in here." The guy on the couch stood up. Big dude, maybe 6'2", built like he spent serious time at the gym. "Who the hell do you think you are?" I ignored him. "Oliver." A small voice came from down the hallway. "Dad." I moved toward it. The guy stepped in front of me. "Natalie said the kid's sleeping." "Maybe you should." I looked at him. Just looked at him. Whatever he saw in my face made him step aside real quick. The bathroom door was closed, locked from the outside with a simple hook latch, the kind you use for a closet. My hands shook as I flipped it open. Oliver sat on the tile floor, knees pulled to his chest, still in his pajamas. His left eye was swollen, already turning purple, blood crusted under his nose. But it was his arms that made my vision tunnel. Dark bruises, finger-shaped marks, like someone had grabbed him hard enough to leave prints. "Hey, buddy." I kept my voice soft, even though rage was burning through every nerve in my body. "I'm here now. You're okay. I've got you." He launched himself at me, small arms wrapping around my neck so tight I could barely breathe. His whole body trembled. "I didn't want to give them my money, Dad. I was saving it for the new Lego set." I told her no, and Dominic said I needed to learn respect. My jaw clenched so hard I thought my teeth would crack. "Who's Dominic?" "Him." Oliver pointed at the guy in the living room. "Mom's boyfriend. He dragged me in here. Mom told him to teach me a lesson about talking back." Everything went very still inside me. That cold, quiet place I used to go before a mission. The place where emotion shut off and training took over. I picked Oliver up gently, cradling him like I used to when he was little. He buried his face in my shoulder. I walked back into the living room. Natalie stood near the kitchen, arms crossed, defiant. "He's lying. He fell." "Kids fall all the time. There are fingerprint bruises on his arms, Natalie. And you locked him in the bathroom." My voice was flat, calm, the kind of calm that should have scared her. "How long?" "I don't know what you're talking about." "How long?" Dominic stepped forward again, puffing out his chest. "Look, man, the kid's got a mouth on him. Sometimes kids need—" "If you finish that sentence," I said quietly, "I will forget every ounce of self-control I've learned in the last 15 years. Something in my tone must have registered. He shut up. I looked at Natalie, my ex-wife, mother of my child, the woman I'd once loved enough to marry. I'm taking Oliver to the hospital. Then I'm calling the police. And then you're going to pray that whatever lawyer you find is better than mine. You can't do that. She lunged forward. It's my custody weekend. You can't just take him. Watch me. I was already heading for the door, Oliver still clinging to me. This isn't over, Tristan. Natalie screamed behind me. I'll tell them about your PTSD. About how unstable you are. No judge will believe you. I didn't turn around. Didn't acknowledge her. Just kept walking, my son's heartbeat against my chest, his tears soaking through my shirt. In the truck, I buckled Oliver into the passenger seat. His face was so small, so hurt, so scared. I brushed the hair off his forehead, careful to avoid the bruises. Am I in trouble? He whispered. What? No. No. Buddy, you're not in trouble. You did nothing wrong. But I made Mom mad. And Dominic said, Oliver, listen to me. I knelt beside the truck, so we were eye level. What happened tonight was not your fault. Do you understand? Not your fault. And I promise you, I will never let anyone hurt you like that again. Never. He nodded, tears streaming down his cheeks. As I drove toward the hospital, Oliver's hand in mine, one thought kept circling through my mind. A cold, clear realization that made my blood run ice cold. This wasn't the first time. The way he'd flinched when Dominic moved. The way he'd been quiet, lately during our phone calls. How he'd started wearing long sleeves, even in summer. How long had this been going on? And how had I missed it? The emergency room at County Medical was nearly empty at 4 in the morning. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting everything in a harsh white glow. Oliver sat on the examination table, legs dangling, while I stood beside him, my hand on his shoulder. The nurse who came in was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and silver streaks in her dark hair. Her name tag read Morgan. Hey there, sweetheart, she said softly to Oliver. I'm just going to take a look at you, okay? Your dad can stay right here. Oliver nodded but didn't speak. I watched Morgan work. Gentle, professional, documenting every bruise, every mark. When she raised her hand to check his eye, Oliver flinched hard, his whole body jerking back. Morgan paused. Her eyes met mine over Oliver's head. That look said everything. She'd seen this before. She knew what she was looking at. It's okay, honey, she murmured. I'm not going to hurt you. I promise. It took another 10 minutes for her to finish the examination. When she stepped out to get the doctor, I crouched down in front of Oliver. Buddy, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Can you do that? He nodded, picking at a loose thread on his pajama pants. Has Dominic hurt you before tonight? The silence stretched out. Oliver's bottom lip trembled. You'll get mad. Mad at you? Never. I could never be mad at you for telling the truth. Not at me. His voice was barely a whisper. At Mom. My chest tightened. Tell me what happened. All of it. And he did. The words came slowly at first, then faster, like a dam breaking. It started 3 months ago. Natalie had a new boyfriend, Dominic, and suddenly she needed money. Lots of it. She took Oliver's birthday cash that his grandmother had sent him. $50. Then she took the money from his piggy bank. He'd been saving for months, doing extra chores, collecting coins. Almost $200. She said she'd pay me back. Oliver said, staring at his hands. She promised, but she never did. And then last week, Grandma sent me another card with money for doing good in school. $40. Mom found it in my backpack and took it. Did she ask you first? She said she was borrowing it, but I knew she wouldn't give it back. So yesterday, when Dominic asked me where my allowance was, I said I didn't have any. But he looked in my room and found the $20 you gave me last week. The one you said I could use to buy that book I wanted. My hands curled into fists. I forced them to relax. What happened then? Dominic said I was a liar, that I was hiding money from my own mother. Mom was there. She was watching. She told him I needed to learn to share, to help the family. Dominic grabbed my arm and pulled me into the bathroom. He pushed me against the sink and said if I ever lied again, it would be worse. Then he took the money and locked me in there for 2 hours. 2 hours. My 8-year-old son locked in a bathroom for 2 hours because he didn't want to hand over $20. Tonight was worse. Oliver continued, his voice cracking. I told Mom I wasn't giving her any more money, that it wasn't fair. She got really mad, started yelling about how I was ungrateful, how she fed me and clothed me and I owed her. Then Dominic came home, and she told him I was being disrespectful. He dragged me to the bathroom again, and he hit me this time. In the stomach first, so it wouldn't show. Then my face. Mom stood in the doorway and watched. She didn't stop him. She just watched. I pulled Oliver into my arms, holding him tight while he cried. Over his shoulder, I saw Morgan standing in the doorway with an older doctor. Both of them had heard everything. Morgan's eyes were wet. The doctor, a thin man with gray hair named Dr. Chun, examined Oliver thoroughly. He confirmed what we all knew: multiple bruises in various stages of healing, consistent with repeated physical abuse over time. He took photographs for documentation. He was kind but clinical, explaining that he was legally required to report this to Child Protective Services and the police. I understand, I said. I want you to report it. I want everything documented. While Dr. Chin filed the reports, I stepped into the hallway and called my lawyer, Felix Martinez. We'd served together in the teams before he went to law school. If anyone could help me navigate this, it was him. Tristan, it's 4:30 in the morning. I need help. It's Oliver. Natalie and her boyfriend have been beating him, taking his money. Felix, I need emergency custody. Today, I heard rustling on the other end, the sound of him getting out of bed. Tell me everything. Don't leave anything out. I did. Every detail. Every bruise. Every word Oliver had said. Felix listened without interrupting. I'll file for emergency custody first thing this morning, he said when I finished. We'll need the medical reports, the police report, everything. Document everything, Tris. Every conversation, every text message. This is going to get ugly, and Natalie's going to fight back. I don't care how ugly it gets. My son is not going back to that apartment. Agreed. I'll call you in 2 hours. Keep Oliver with you. Don't let Natalie near him unless there's a witness present. 2 police officers arrived 20 minutes later. A veteran cop named Martinez and a younger officer named Brooks. They took my statement, then Oliver's. My son was so brave, answering their questions in a small but steady voice. They photographed his injuries again. More documentation. More evidence. A CPS worker named Paige showed up just as the sun was rising. She was in her 30s, professional but warm. She spoke with Oliver privately, then with me, then with the medical staff. Her face was grim when she finished. I'm granting temporary emergency custody to you, Mr. Cole, she said. Based on the evidence in Oliver's testimony, I don't believe he's safe in his mother's care. There will be a hearing within 72 hours to determine next steps, but for now, Oliver stays with you. Relief hit me so hard I almost staggered. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just keep him safe. We left the hospital as morning traffic started building. Oliver fell asleep in the truck on the way back to my place, his head against the window, looking so small and fragile. My phone started ringing. Natalie. I let it go to voicemail. She called again and again. On the 4th call, I answered. You son of a bitch, she hissed. You can't do this. He's lying, Tristan. Oliver's lying about everything. Kids make up stories when they're mad. You know that. The doctors documented bruises in multiple stages of healing. Your boyfriend's fingerprints are on his arms. The police have photographs. I don't care. You're trying to turn him against me. You've always wanted to take him away from me, and now you're using this as an excuse. He told me you stood there and watched while Dominic beat him. Is that true, Natalie? Silence. That's what I thought. You're going to regret this, she said, her voice turning cold. I'll tell them everything about you. About your deployments. About the therapy you had to do after you came back. About the nightmares. I'll make sure every judge knows you're unstable. Dangerous. And when I'm done, you'll never see Oliver again. The line went dead. I looked at my son sleeping beside me, his face bruised but peaceful for the first time in hours. Let her try. I'd been through hell and back. I'd survived things that would break most people. But this? Protecting my son? This was a war I would not lose. Felix's office was on the 4th floor of a downtown building, overlooking the bay. I'd been there twice before, once when Natalie and I finalized the divorce, and once when we hammered out the custody arrangement. Back then, everything had been civil, cordial even. We'd both agreed that Oliver needed stability, needed both his parents and his life. That version of Natalie felt like a stranger now. Felix sat across from me, a thick manila folder already spread open on his desk. 3 days had passed since I'd taken Oliver from that apartment. 3 days of keeping my son close, watching him jump at sudden sounds, holding him through nightmares where he woke up crying, asking if Dominic was coming. The emergency custody hearing is scheduled for Friday, Felix said, tapping a pen against his notepad. That gives us 4 days to prepare. CPS is conducting home visits for both you and Natalie today and tomorrow. Paige will interview Oliver again, separately. They'll check your living situation, your work schedule, your support system. My place is clean. I've got a stable job doing security consulting. Oliver has his own room, his own space. What else do they need? They need to see that you can provide consistent care, that you're not just reacting emotionally to one bad incident. Felix leaned forward. And Tris, I need you to understand something. Natalie's going to fight this with everything she has. She's already hired representation. My stomach tightened. Who? Quinn Ramsey. She's good. Aggressive. Specializes in defending parents in abuse cases. There's no defending what happened to Oliver. That's not how she'll play it. She'll attack your credibility, your stability, your ability to parent. She'll make this about you, not about what happened to Oliver. Felix's expression was grim. I need to know everything, Tristan. Anything from your past that she could use against you. Deployments, incidents, disciplinary actions, medical records. Anything. I ran a hand through my hair. I did 6 years. 3 tours. Saw combat. Lost friends. Came back with some nightmares, some trouble sleeping. Did 6 months of therapy through the VA. Got cleared for civilian life. That's it. Any violent incidents? Or fights? Road rage? Anything where police were involved? No. I learned control a long time ago. Good. Because she's going to paint you as unstable. A trained killer who can't handle normal life. We need character witnesses. People who can testify to your relationship with Oliver, your temperament, your stability. I thought about the guys I'd served with. Most had scattered across the country, building new lives. But a few were still local. I can get people. Military buddies? Yeah, that's good. We need them. Teachers, coaches, neighbors, anyone who's seen you with Oliver. Felix made notes on his pad. The medical evidence is strong. The police report is solid. CPS is on our side so far. But Natalie's going to make this ugly, and you need to be prepared for that. The hearing was set for 9 a.m. Friday morning in Family Court downtown. I spent the next 3 days preparing. CPS worker Paige came to my apartment Wednesday afternoon. She walked through every room, checked that Oliver had clothes, toys, books. She asked about my work schedule, flexible, mostly remote unless I had on-site consultations. She asked about childcare. My neighbor, an older woman named Mrs. Chun, had offered to help whenever I needed it. She'd known Oliver since he was a baby, loved him like a grandson. Paige interviewed Oliver in his room while I waited in the kitchen. 45 minutes later, she emerged with red eyes. He's a good kid, she said quietly. Brave. He told me everything. About the money, about Dominic, about his mother watching. Mr. Cole, I've been doing this job for 12 years, and I've seen a lot. But that little boy in there, he shouldn't have had to go through any of this. I know. Keep him safe. That's all I ask. I will. Thursday morning, I got a call from Kyle Bennett, one of my old teammates. We'd served together on 2 tours, had each other's backs in situations most people couldn't imagine. Heard you're dealing with some serious stuff. Kyle said. Felix reached out. I'm flying in for the hearing. Whatever you need, brother. You don't have to do that. The hell I don't. You do it for me. Besides, anyone who hurts a kid deserves whatever's coming to them. I'll testify. Tell them exactly what kind of man you are. Two more guys reached out that afternoon. Hunter Walsh and Grant Morrison, both former SEALs, both willing to show up and speak for me. It meant more than I could put into words. But that evening, everything shifted. Felix called at 7 p.m. His voice was tight. We have a problem. What kind of problem? Quinn's been digging into your military record. She found something. An incident from your second deployment. April 2019. A mission in Kandahar that went sideways. Civilian casualties. An investigation. My blood went cold. I hadn't thought about that mission in years. Tried not to, anyway. It still haunted my dreams sometimes. The explosion, the screaming, the bodies we pulled from the rubble afterward. I was cleared, I said. The investigation concluded our intelligence was solid. We were ambushing a high-value target. The civilians were in a compound we weren't told about. It wasn't our fault. I know that. The record shows you were cleared of any wrongdoing. But Quinn's going to use it anyway. She's going to put you on the stand and ask about the 8 civilians who died. She's going to ask about your nightmares, your therapy, your PTSD diagnosis. She's going to paint a picture of a violent, unstable man who makes dangerous decisions. I closed my eyes. Oliver was in his room, playing quietly. I could hear the soft sounds of toy cars rolling across the floor. Peaceful. Innocent. Everything I was fighting to protect. That mission has nothing to do with my ability to be a father. You know that. I know that. But Quinn's going to make the jury question it. She's good at creating doubt. Felix paused. There's more. She's filing a counter motion claiming you took Oliver without permission, that you've been coaching him to lie about the abuse, that this whole thing is fabricated because you want full custody. She's got affidavits from Natalie and Dominic both claiming Oliver is a troubled kid who acts out for attention. Rage burned through me, white hot and pure. They're lying. Of course they are. But now we have to prove it. And Tristan, this is going to get brutal. Everything you've ever done, every mistake, every dark moment, it's all going to come out in court. I looked toward Oliver's room. Through the crack in the door, I could see him lying on his stomach, moving his cars in careful patterns. He'd laughed today. Actually laughed, for the first time since I'd picked him up from that hospital. A real, genuine kid laugh, while we made pancakes for breakfast. I don't care what they throw at me, I said quietly. Let them dig up every skeleton. Let them question every decision I've ever made. Oliver is safe now, and he's staying safe. That's all that matters. I know, but you need to be ready. Friday is going to be the fight of your life. After Felix hung up, I sat in the dark kitchen for a long time. The incident in Kandahar. 8 civilians dead. 5 of them children. We'd done everything by the book, followed every protocol, acted on intelligence that turned out to be incomplete. The investigation had cleared us. But it didn't change what happened. Didn't bring those kids back. And now Natalie's lawyer was going to use their deaths to take my son away from me. Friday morning arrived with gray skies and cold wind. I dressed Oliver in his button-down shirt and khakis, the outfit we'd picked out together at the store yesterday. He looked so grown up, so serious. Too serious for an 8-year-old. Do I have to talk in front of everyone? He asked while I tied his shoes. No, buddy. The judge will talk to you privately, just you and her. And Ms. Page will be there too. You just tell the truth, okay? That's all you have to do. He nodded, but his hands were shaking. I pulled him into a hug. I'm proud of you. You're the bravest kid I know. The courthouse was downtown, a massive stone building that felt cold and impersonal. Felix met us outside, briefcase in hand, his expression all business. Kyle, Hunter, and Grant stood nearby in suits, looking uncomfortable but determined. My brothers. They'd flown in from 3 different states to be here. The hearing starts at 9, Felix said. It'll be in Judge Giselle Hartman's courtroom. She's fair but tough. Doesn't tolerate games or theatrics. Inside, the courtroom was smaller than I'd expected. Wood paneling, fluorescent lights, rows of benches. Natalie sat at the defendant's table with her lawyer, Quinn Ramsey. Quinn was in her 40s, sharp-featured, wearing a power suit and an expression that said she'd done this 1,000 times. Natalie wouldn't look at me. Dominic wasn't there. Smart move on their part. Judge Hartman entered at 9 sharp. She was a black woman in her 60s with gray-streaked hair and eyes that missed nothing. Everyone stood until she took her seat. This is an emergency custody hearing regarding the minor child, Oliver Cole, she began. We're here to determine temporary custody arrangements, pending a full hearing. Mr. Martinez, you may begin. Felix stood, laying out the case methodically. The medical evidence. The police report. Oliver's testimony. The photographs of bruises in various stages of healing. CPS's recommendation for temporary custody to remain with me. He spoke for 20 minutes, presenting everything we had. Then it was Quinn's turn. Your Honor, this case is built on allegations from a child who has been coached by his father. Mr. Cole has a documented history of violence and instability. He served as a Navy SEAL, participated in classified operations that resulted in civilian deaths, and has been treated for post-traumatic stress disorder. He is manipulating his son to win a custody battle he's been waging since the divorce. My jaw clenched. Felix had warned me this was coming, but hearing it out loud made rage burn through my veins. Quinn continued. In April 2019, Mr. Cole participated in a military operation in Kandahar, Afghanistan. 8 civilians were killed, including 5 children. While he was technically cleared of wrongdoing, the incident resulted in months of therapy and a PTSD diagnosis. This is not a stable man. This is a trained killer who cannot adjust to civilian life and is now using his military background to intimidate and control his ex-wife. Judge Hartman looked at me. Mr. Cole, is this accurate? Were you involved in an operation that resulted in civilian casualties? I stood. Yes, Your Honor. In 2019, my team conducted a night raid on a compound believed to be housing a high-value target. Our intelligence indicated the compound was a militant safe house. After we breached, we discovered civilians sheltering in a back room. An explosive device detonated during the firefight. 8 civilians died. The investigation concluded our actions were within protocol based on the intelligence we had. It doesn't change what happened. Those people died, and I carry that with me every day. And the PTSD diagnosis? I did 6 months of therapy through the VA after I returned stateside. I had nightmares, trouble sleeping. The therapy helped. I was cleared for civilian life with no restrictions. Quinn jumped back in. Your Honor, this is a man who makes life or death decisions under pressure and sometimes gets it wrong. Who's to say he won't get it wrong with his son? Who's to say his judgment isn't clouded by his past trauma? That's enough, Ms. Ramsey. Judge Hartman said sharply. Mr. Cole's military service is not on trial here. The question is whether the child is safe in either parent's care. Call your first witness, Mr. Martinez. Felix called Kyle to the stand. My old teammate walked up, raised his right hand, swore to tell the truth. Mr. Bennett, how do you know Tristan Cole? We served together for 4 years. 2 deployments. I've seen him in combat, in crisis situations, under pressure that would break most people. Tristan is the most controlled, disciplined man I've ever known. He saved lives, mine included. And I've seen him with his son. That kid is his whole world. Quinn cross-examined, trying to twist Kyle's words, asking about violence and training. Kyle didn't budge. Ma'am, we were trained to protect people. That's what Tristan does. He protects. And right now, he's protecting his son from someone who hurt him. That's not instability. That's being a good father. Next came Harper Lewis, Oliver's 3rd-grade teacher. She testified that 3 months ago, Oliver's behavior changed. He became withdrawn, stopped participating in class, flinched when other kids got too close. I noticed bruises on his arms twice, she said. When I asked, he said he fell. But children who fall don't have finger-shaped bruises. The medical expert, Dr. Chun, presented his findings. The pattern of injuries, the timeline, the consistency with repeated abuse. His testimony was clinical, devastating. Then Felix dropped the bombshell. Your Honor, we have new evidence that came to light yesterday. I'd like to call Adrian Pierce to the stand. I blinked. Adrian was a friend from my security consulting days, former military police, now ran a private investigation firm. I hadn't known Felix had brought him in. Adrian took the stand, professional and calm. I was asked to conduct a background check on Dominic Lawson, Miss Cole's boyfriend. What I found was a prior domestic violence conviction from 2017 in Nevada. He served 18 months probation for assault on a former girlfriend. Additionally, I discovered MS. Natalie Cole owes approximately $47,000 to an illegal gambling operation run out of the East Side. The courtroom erupted. Quinn was on her feet, objecting. Natalie had gone pale, her hands gripping the table. Judge Hartman banged her gavel. Order. Ms. Ramsey, did you know about Mr. Lawson's criminal history? Quinn stammered. Your Honor, we were not aware. And the gambling debts, Miss Cole? Natalie stood, tears streaming. I made mistakes. I was going to pay it back. I just needed more time. Did you take money from your son to pay gambling debts? Silence. Answer the question, Miss Cole. I borrowed from him. I was going to pay him back. Judge Hartman's expression was stone. This hearing is adjourned. I'm ordering a full investigation into Ms. Cole's financial situation and Mr. Lawson's involvement with a minor child. Temporary custody remains with Mr. Cole. We'll reconvene in 2 weeks. Ms. Cole, you will have supervised visitation only, pending the outcome of this investigation. Felix squeezed my shoulder as we left. Oliver was in a side room with Paige, spared from hearing the worst of it. When I picked him up, he looked exhausted. Can we go home now, Dad? Yeah, buddy. We can go home. That night, after Oliver was asleep, someone pounded on my door. I checked the peephole. Dominic, swaying, clearly drunk. Open up, Cole. We need to talk. I pulled out my phone, started recording, and called the police. This was far from over. Dominic's fist hammered against my front door again, the sound echoing through the apartment. I stood in the hallway, phone already in my hand, recording everything. I know you're in there, Cole. Open this door. Behind me, Oliver's bedroom door cracked open. His face appeared, pale and terrified. I held up one hand, signaling him to stay back, to stay quiet. He nodded and disappeared back into his room. We need to talk, man. You're ruining everything. Natalie's a mess because of you. Every instinct I had, every ounce of training, every reflex honed over 6 years in the teams, screamed at me to open that door and end this threat. It would take seconds. 3 moves, maybe 4, and Dominic would be on the ground, no longer a danger to anyone. But Oliver was watching. And this wasn't a battlefield. This was civilian life, where there were laws and consequences and a better way to handle things. I dialed 911, keeping the phone camera pointed at the door. This is Tristan Cole at 847 Maple Street, apartment 2B. There's an intoxicated man at my door making threats. I have a protective order against him. I need police here now. The dispatcher's voice was calm. Officers are on their way. Can you get to a safe room? I'm armed and trained. My son is here. We're staying put. Dad. Oliver's voice was small from his doorway. It's okay, buddy. The police are coming. Go back to your room and lock the door. He hesitated, then obeyed. I heard the click of his lock engaging. Dominic was still pounding. You think you're so tough because you were a SEAL? You think that scares me? You're nothing, man. Nothing. You took my girl. You took her kid. You got me arrested. The police are on their way. I said through the door, my voice level. You're violating a protective order. Every word you're saying is being recorded. If you have any sense left, you'll leave right now. Screw you. Something heavy hit the door. He'd kicked it. The frame shuddered, but held. You're making it worse for yourself, I said. Walk away. I'm not going anywhere until you open this door, and we talk like men. Men don't beat 8-year-old kids. Men don't threaten people at their homes. You want to talk? Call a lawyer and do it through the court. The court? The court's a joke. Natalie told me what you're doing, trying to turn Oliver against her, lying to the judge about what happened. That kid's fine. He fell. Kids fall. The lies were so blatant, so brazen, they would have been laughable if they weren't about my son's safety. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Dominic heard them too. His pounding stopped. This isn't over, he hissed through the door. You hear me, Cole? This isn't over. Footsteps retreated down the hallway. I stayed where I was, phone still recording, until 2 police officers appeared in my doorway 3 minutes later. I recognized one of them, Officer Martinez from the hospital. Mr. Cole, you okay? We're fine. He just left. Went down the back stairwell, I think. Martinez radioed it in while the other officer, a younger guy named Brooks, checked my door for damage. We've got units looking for him now, Martinez said. You got that recorded? I handed him my phone. Everything. Threats, property damage, violation of the protective order. He watched the video, his jaw tightening. Yeah, this is more than enough. He's looking at jail time now. They found Dominic 20 minutes later, stumbling through the parking lot 3 blocks away. Arrested him on the spot. Martinez called to let me know. After the police left, I knocked softly on Oliver's door. It's just me, buddy. It's safe now. The lock clicked. Oliver opened the door, his eyes red from crying. Is he coming back? No. The police arrested him. He's going to jail. For how long? I don't know yet. But he won't be allowed anywhere near you or me. That's a promise. Oliver stepped into the hallway, looking at the front door like it might explode. Why didn't you fight him, Dad? You could have made him stop. I crouched down so we were eye level. This was important. Maybe the most important teaching moment I'd ever have with my son. You're right. I could have. I'm trained to handle threats like that. But you know what I learned in the military? The strongest warriors aren't the ones who fight every battle. They're the ones who know when fighting makes things worse. Dominic was drunk, stupid, and making mistakes. Every threat he made, every word he yelled, that's evidence now. Evidence that helps us keep you safe. If I'd opened that door and put him on the ground, I would have been the one in trouble. And then who would protect you? Oliver processed this, his young mind working through the logic. So you won. Without even fighting. Exactly. Real strength isn't about how hard you can hit. It's about protecting the people you love using the right tools. Sometimes that's words. Sometimes it's the law. Sometimes it's just patience. That's really hard, though. The hardest thing I've ever done. Way harder than anything I did overseas. He threw his arms around me, and I held him tight, feeling his heartbeat slow from terrified to calm. The next morning, Saturday, my doorbell rang. I checked the peephole. Natalie stood there alone, no makeup, eyes swollen from crying. She looked sober. Broken, but sober. I opened the door, but didn't invite her in. What do you want? To talk. Please, Tristan. Just 5 minutes. Oliver's not here. He's with Mrs. Chun. I know. I came to talk to you. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop 2 blocks away. Neutral ground. Public. Safe. We sat across from each other, steam rising from untouched cups. Natalie's hands shook as she wrapped them around her mug. I'm sorry, she whispered. For everything. For Dominic. For what happened to Oliver. For all of it. Why'd you let it happen, Natalie? Why'd you stand there and watch him hurt our son? Tears streamed down her face. I don't know. I was scared. I owed money. So much money. The gambling it spiraled. I kept thinking I could win it back, but I couldn't. And then these people started threatening me. Said they'd hurt me if I didn't pay. Dominic said he'd help. Said he'd handle it. But he just made everything worse. So you took money from Oliver. I know. I know how that sounds. I was desperate. I thought I could borrow from him. Pay him back when I got things sorted out. But nothing got sorted out. Everything just kept getting worse. And when he refused, you let Dominic beat him. She flinched like I'd slapped her. I should have stopped him. I know that now. But I was so deep in my own mess, I couldn't see straight. I kept telling myself Oliver was fine, that he was just being dramatic, that kid's bounced back. I lied to myself because the truth was too horrible to face. I stared at this woman I'd once loved. You need help. Professional help. I know. I'm going to rehab next week. Court ordered. I'm going to get clean. Get my life together. For Oliver? For me. And then maybe someday Oliver can forgive me. She reached across the table. I pulled my hand back. Tristan, there's something else. The people I owe money to, they're dangerous. Real dangerous. And they know about Oliver. They know you have him. They told me if I don't pay soon. My blood went cold. What are you saying? I'm saying be careful. They don't care about custody battles or court orders. They just want their money. The coffee shop felt too bright, too normal for the conversation we were having. Around us, people ordered lattes and worked on laptops, completely unaware that I was sitting across from someone who'd just told me my son was a target. Who are these people? I kept my voice low, controlled. Names, Natalie. I need names. She glanced around nervously. They call themselves a business club. But it's not. It's a gambling ring run by a guy named Victor Strand. He operates out of the East Side. Pool halls, underground poker games, sports betting. I got involved 6 months ago through a friend. Thought I could make some quick money. I was stupid. How much do you actually owe? $47,000. With interest, it goes up every week. Victor sent 2 guys to my place last month. Told me if I didn't pay soon, they'd find other ways to collect. That's when I started taking Oliver's money. I was desperate, Tristan. They threatened to hurt me. My jaw clenched. And now they're threatening Oliver. I don't know. Maybe. They know I lost custody. They know you have him. Victor said something about family being responsible for family debts. Her voice cracked. I'm so sorry. I never meant for any of this to touch Oliver. But it already had. The moment she'd let Dominic hurt our son, it had touched him. And now there were criminals who knew his name, knew where he lived. I left Natalie at the coffee shop and drove straight home. Oliver was still with Mrs. Chun, giving me time to think, to plan. This wasn't just a custody battle anymore. This was a security threat, the kind I'd been trained to handle, but in a completely different context. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts. Evan Torres, former intelligence officer, now worked as a federal consultant. We'd crossed paths on a joint operation in Syria, stayed in touch afterward. If anyone could help me navigate this, it was him. Tristan Cole. Been a while, brother. I need your help. It's about my son. His tone shifted immediately. Talk to me. I laid out everything. The custody battle, Dominic, the gambling debts, Victor Strand's operation. Evan listened without interrupting. Victor Strand, he said when I finished. Yeah, I know that name. FBI's had eyes on him for 2 years. Money laundering, racketeering, suspected ties to organized crime out of Chicago. But he's careful. They haven't been able to build a case that sticks. Can they protect Oliver? Not unless there's a direct, credible threat. And even then, resources are limited. But here's what I can do. I can connect you with an agent who's working the Strand case. If you're willing to cooperate, provide information about your ex-wife's involvement, they might be able to move on him faster. What kind of cooperation? Testimony. Evidence. Maybe wear a wire if any of Strand's people approach you. The idea of using myself as bait didn't sit well. But if it meant ending this threat permanently, protecting Oliver long-term, I'd do it. Set up the meeting. 2 days later, I sat in a generic office building downtown across from FBI Special Agent Mason Reeves. He was in his 40s, buzz-cut, sharp eyes that assessed everything. Former Marine, I'd guess from the way he carried himself. Mr. Cole, Evan tells me you have information about Victor Strand's operation. My ex-wife owes him money. $47,000. She's been threatened. Now I'm concerned those threats extend to my son. Mason opened a file folder. We've been building a case against Strand for 18 months. He runs a sophisticated operation, money laundering through legitimate businesses, illegal gambling, loan sharking. The problem is, witnesses tend to disappear or recant. People are scared. I'm not scared. I want him stopped. Even if it means putting yourself at risk. If Oliver stays safe, yes. Mason studied me for a long moment. Okay, here's what I need. If any of Strand's people contact you, and they will, once they realize Natalie can't pay, I need you to record it. Document everything. If they make threats, if they mention Oliver, that gives us grounds for protective measures and accelerates our timeline. He slid a small device across the desk. Recording pen. Looks normal, works perfectly. Press the top twice to activate. Holds 6 hours of audio. I pocketed it. What about Oliver? What's his level of risk right now? Honestly, low to moderate. Strand's people are bullies, but they're not stupid. Hurting a kid, especially one involved in a custody case, brings too much heat. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't take precautions. Over the next week, I turned my apartment into a fortress. New locks, security cameras at the entrance, motion sensors. I taught Oliver what to do if strangers approached him. Run, scream, find an adult he trusted. Never go anywhere alone. Never accept anything from people he didn't know. He took it seriously, his young face solemn as we practiced emergency protocols. Are the bad people going to come here, Dad? I'm not going to let anything happen to you. That's a promise. Friday afternoon, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Check your email. Thought you should know. A friend. I opened my laptop. The email contained a single screenshot, a text conversation between Natalie and someone named V. The messages were from 2 days ago. V, you're out of time. Either pay or disappear. Natalie, I can't pay. You know I can't. V, then run. I have people who can get you out of state. Mexico, maybe. But you owe me a favor when you get there. Natalie, what about my son? V, what about him? My blood ran cold. She was planning to flee. And if she ran, Strand's people might come after Oliver to collect what she owed. I forwarded the screenshot to Mason immediately, then called him. She's running, I said without preamble. Natalie's planning to flee with Strand's help. If she disappears, they'll come after Oliver to settle the debt. Where'd you get this? Anonymous tip. But it's legitimate. That's her number, and the conversation matches everything she told me about Strand. Mason was quiet for a moment. This actually helps us. If we can prove Strand is facilitating flight to avoid debt collection, that's another charge. But you're right about the risk to your son. We need to move faster. What do you need from me? Strand's people will contact you eventually. When they do, I need you to meet with them. We're the wire. Get them to make threats. Mention Oliver specifically. Talk about the debt. Give us something concrete. And if they don't contact me, then we wait. But I don't think we'll have to wait long. He was right. 2 days later, on a Tuesday morning, 2 men showed up at my apartment building. I was coming back from dropping Oliver at school when I spotted them leaning against a black sedan in the parking lot. They weren't trying to hide. They wanted to be seen. The recording pen was in my jacket pocket. I pressed the top twice as I approached. Tristan Cole, the taller one, spoke. He was mid-30s, expensive suit, cold eyes. The other guy was bigger, muscle clearly, standing with his arms crossed. Who's asking? Friends of Natalie's. We need to discuss her outstanding financial obligations. She doesn't live here. Haven't you heard? We're divorced. We're aware. But family debts don't disappear with divorce papers, Mr. Cole. Your ex-wife owes a substantial amount of money to our employer. She's proven unreliable in making payments. That's between you and her. The tall man smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. That's where you're wrong. See, when someone can't pay, we look to their assets. And from what we understand, you have something very valuable. A son, Oliver, isn't it? 8 years old. Goes to Riverside Elementary. My blood turned to ice, but I kept my face neutral. You threatening my kid? Threatening? No. We're simply having a conversation about responsibility. Family responsibility. Natalie brought a child into this world. That child benefits from having a father with resources. Former Navy SEAL, security consultant, probably makes decent money. Seems to us you could help resolve this situation. How much does she owe? $47,000. Plus interest. Call it 55. And if I don't pay? The muscle guy spoke for the first time. Bad things happen when debts go unpaid. Accidents. People get hurt. Sometimes it's the debtor. Sometimes it's people they care about. That sounds like a threat. The tall man held up his hands. Just explaining how the world works, Mr. Cole. You have 72 hours to come up with the money. We'll be in touch with instructions. They got back in their sedan and drove away. I stood there, heart pounding, making sure the recording pen had captured everything. That evening, I met with Mason at a secure location, a government building downtown, small conference room, no windows. They mentioned Oliver by name. Mason said after listening to the recording. Mentioned his school. That's direct threat to a minor. Combined with everything else, we have enough to move on Strand's operation. How long? We're coordinating with local PD. 72 hours, they said. We'll hit them in 48. Multiple locations simultaneously, his front businesses, his associates, the works. What about Oliver's safety until then? I'm assigning protective surveillance. Unmarked units will watch your apartment and his school. They won't see them, but they'll be there. Meanwhile, Felix was building the custody case into something unshakable. The full hearing was scheduled for next Monday, 9 days away. He'd lined up witnesses like he was preparing for a trial. Oliver's teacher Harper agreed to testify again. Oliver's pediatrician, Dr. Ramirez, who'd been seeing him since birth, would speak about the changes he'd noticed in recent months. Mrs. Chun, my neighbor, would testify about my relationship with Oliver, about the kind of father I was. Kyle, Hunter, and Grant were flying back in for the hearing. And then Felix dropped another bombshell. Natalie's mother wants to testify, he said Wednesday afternoon. Clara? Testify for who? For you. Against Natalie. I was stunned. Clara had always been cordial with me, but she was Natalie's mother. Blood. Why would she do that? I spoke with her yesterday. She said she loves her daughter, but she loves her grandson more. She's watched Natalie destroy her own life with gambling and bad decisions. She won't sit quietly while Oliver suffers for it. That's going to devastate Natalie. That's not our concern. Our concern is Oliver. Thursday night, 48 hours after the parking lot encounter, Mason called. It's done. We hit 6 locations, arrested 17 people, including Victor Strand and the 2 men who approached you. Found evidence of money laundering, racketeering, loan sharking, witness intimidation. Strand's looking at 20 years minimum. Relief washed through me. The threats against Oliver? Gone. With Strand and his operation dismantled, there's no one left to collect on Natalie's debt. Your son is safe from that angle. One threat eliminated. But the custody battle remained. Sunday night, the evening before the full hearing, I tucked Oliver into bed. He'd been quieter than usual all day, processing everything in that serious way kids do when they're trying to make sense of adult problems. Dad, his voice was small in the darkness. Yeah, buddy. Tomorrow at court. What if the judge sends me back to Mom? I sat on the edge of his bed, brushing hair off his forehead. That's not going to happen. But what if it does? What if she doesn't believe me? Oliver, look at me. The judge has seen all the evidence. The doctors, the police reports, the witnesses. Everyone who cares about you is going to be there tomorrow telling the truth. And the truth is that you're safe with me, and you're staying with me. Promise. I wanted a promise. Wanted to guarantee that tomorrow would end the way it should. But I'd learned long ago not to make promises I couldn't keep. I promise I will fight for you with everything I have. And I never lose the fights that matter. He hugged me tight, and I held him until his breathing slowed into sleep. Tomorrow would decide everything. The courtroom was packed. Monday morning, 9 a.m. sharp, and every bench was filled. Felix sat beside me at our table, files organized in neat stacks. Across the aisle, Natalie sat with Quinn, both of them whispering urgently. Natalie looked thinner than I'd ever seen her, dark circles under her eyes, hands trembling as she clutched a tissue. Judge Giselle Hartman entered, and everyone stood. She settled into her chair with the practiced ease of someone who'd presided over hundreds of these cases. Her expression gave nothing away. This is a full custody hearing for Oliver Cole, age 8, she began. We're here to determine permanent custody arrangements and visitation rights. Mr. Martinez, you may begin. Felix stood, buttoning his suit jacket. Your Honor, the evidence will show that Oliver Cole suffered repeated physical abuse at the hands of his mother's boyfriend, with his mother's knowledge and consent. We will present medical testimony, witness statements, and documentation proving that the minor child is unsafe in Ms. Cole's care and should remain with his father permanently. For the next hour, Felix methodically built the case. Dr. Chin testified about Oliver's injuries, showing the photographs on a screen that made several people in the courtroom gasp. The bruises in various stages of healing, the finger-shaped marks, the evidence of repeated trauma. Harper Lewis, Oliver's teacher, testified about the changes she'd witnessed. He went from being a happy, engaged student to withdrawn and fearful. I documented 3 instances where I noticed bruises. Each time, Oliver had a different explanation. Fell off his bike, ran into a door, rough play at recess. But his eyes told a different story. Mrs. Chin spoke about my relationship with Oliver, tears streaming down her face as she described the bond between father and son. That man lives for that boy. I've watched them for years. The way Tristan cares for Oliver, the patience, the love, it's beautiful. Oliver is safe with his father. That's where he belongs. Kyle testified next, his voice steady and strong. I served with Tristan Cole for 4 years. I've seen him under the worst pressure imaginable. He's the most controlled, dedicated person I know. And I've seen him with his son. That kid is everything to him. Then came the moment everyone had been waiting for. The judge's chambers, where Oliver would give his testimony privately. Only Judge Hartman, CPS worker Page, a child advocate named Morgan, and the court reporter would be present. The rest of us watched via closed-circuit television in the courtroom. Oliver sat in a chair that looked too big for him, his feet barely touching the floor. Judge Hartman smiled gently at him. Oliver, I know this is scary, but I need you to tell me the truth about what happened. Can you do that? He nodded, his voice small. Yes, ma'am. Tell me about Dominic. Oliver's hands twisted in his lap. He's Mom's boyfriend. He hurt me when I wouldn't give Mom my money. What kind of hurt? He grabbed my arms really hard, pushed me against the sink in the bathroom, hit me in the stomach and then in the face. He said I needed to learn respect. Was your mom there when this happened? Oliver's voice cracked. She was watching. I looked at her, and she just stood there. I thought she would help me, but she didn't. Judge Hartman's expression remained neutral, but something flickered in her eyes. Has this happened more than once? Yes, ma'am. 3 times. The last time was the worst. Where do you feel safe, Oliver? With my dad. He never hurts me. He helps me with homework and makes pancakes and teaches me stuff. He promised no one would hurt me again. Do you want to live with your dad? Yes, ma'am. Please. The screen went black. The courtroom was silent except for the sound of someone crying. Natalie, her face buried in her hands. Quinn tried to salvage what she could during cross-examination, but there was nothing left to salvage. The evidence was overwhelming. Dominic's prior conviction, the gambling debts, the threats from Strand's organization, the medical records. Everything pointed to one undeniable truth. Oliver had been abused, and his mother had allowed it. Then Felix called his final witness, and the courtroom erupted in whispers. The defense calls Clara Bennett, maternal grandmother of the minor child. Natalie's head snapped up, her face going white. Clara walked to the witness stand slowly, an older woman in her 60s with gray hair and sad eyes. She didn't look at her daughter. Ms. Bennett, what is your relationship to Oliver? I'm his grandmother, Natalie's mother. And why are you here today? Clara's voice was steady but full of pain. Because I love my grandson more than I love my pride. And he deserves better than what my daughter has given him. Can you elaborate? Natalie has struggled with gambling for years. Since she was in her 20s. She's stolen from me, from her father before he passed, from friends. I've bailed her out more times than I can count, and every time she promises to change. But she doesn't. When I found out what happened to Oliver, that she stood by while that man hurt him, I knew I couldn't stay silent anymore. Natalie sobbed openly. Quinn put a hand on her shoulder. This breaks my heart, Clara continued, tears now streaming down her face. She's my daughter. I gave birth to her, raised her, love her with everything I have. But Oliver is innocent. He didn't ask for any of this. And if choosing him means going against my daughter, then that's what I have to do. The silence in the courtroom was deafening. Finally, it was my turn to testify. I walked to the stand, raised my right hand, swore to tell the truth. Felix asked about my service, my work, my relationship with Oliver. I answered honestly, simply, being a father is the most important thing I've ever done. More important than any mission, any medal, any accomplishment. Oliver is my son, and protecting him is my life's work. Quinn tried to rattle me during cross-examination, bringing up Kandahar again, the PTSD, the therapy. But it didn't land the way she'd hoped. Ms. Ramsey, I'm not ashamed of my service or my struggles afterward. What happened in Kandahar haunts me. Those civilians deserved better intelligence, better protection. But I learned from it. I got help. I became better. And those experiences taught me something crucial, that protecting people, especially children, is worth any cost. Judge Hartman looked at both sides. I'm taking a 30-minute recess to review all evidence and testimony. When I return, I'll issue my ruling. Those 30 minutes felt like 30 hours. Judge Hartman returned exactly 30 minutes later. Her face was unreadable as she settled into her chair, adjusting the thick folder in front of her. The courtroom held its collective breath. I've reviewed all testimony, evidence, medical records, police reports, and witness statements, she began. This is one of the clearest cases I've seen in my 23 years on the bench. She looked directly at Natalie. Miss Cole, you stood by while your boyfriend repeatedly abused your son. You took money from an 8-year-old child to pay gambling debts. You allowed criminals into his life. Your own mother testified against you, not out of malice, but out of love for that child. These are not the actions of a parent capable of providing a safe home. Natalie's shoulders shook with sobs. Quinn put an arm around her. Judge Hartman turned to me. Mr. Cole, you have demonstrated stability, dedication, and unwavering commitment to your son's well-being. You've provided a safe home, appropriate care, and done everything legally required to protect him. She picked up her gavel. I'm granting full physical and legal custody to Tristan Cole, effective immediately. Ms. Cole will be permitted supervised visitation only, contingent upon completion of a court-approved gambling addiction treatment program and 6 months of documented sobriety. She will also undergo psychological evaluation before any unsupervised contact is considered. Dominic Lawson is permanently barred from any contact with the minor child. The gavel came down with a sharp crack that echoed through the courtroom. This hearing is concluded. The room erupted. Felix squeezed my shoulder hard. Kyle, Hunter, and Grant were on their feet, grinning. Mrs. Chun was crying happy tears. Clara sat quietly, her hands folded in her lap, looking both relieved and heartbroken. Natalie collapsed into her chair, her face buried in her hands, whole body convulsing with grief. Part of me felt sorry for her. She was still Oliver's mother, still someone I'd once loved. But a bigger part of me felt only relief. My son was safe. Legally, permanently safe. I walked out of that courtroom feeling lighter than I had in months. Oliver was waiting in the children's room with Paige. When I opened the door, he looked up, his face full of hope and fear. We won, buddy. You're staying with me. Forever. He ran into my arms so fast he nearly knocked me over. I held him tight, feeling his tears soak through my shirt, feeling his small body finally relax after weeks of tension. I get to stay? You get to stay. The next week moved quickly. Dominic's trial for child abuse was scheduled for 3 months out, but his lawyer was already negotiating a plea deal. With the evidence stacked against him, medical records, photographs, Oliver's testimony, witness statements, he was looking at serious prison time. The prosecution was pushing for 5 years minimum. Victor Strand and his associates faced federal charges. Agent Mason called to update me. 17 arrests, hundreds of thousands in seized assets, evidence of a criminal enterprise spanning 3 states. Natalie's debt died with the organization. She was offered immunity in exchange for testimony, which she accepted. I focused on Oliver, on healing, on building the stable, peaceful life he deserved. Dr. Ivy Spencer became a regular part of our lives. She was a child psychologist specializing in trauma, and she met with Oliver twice a week. At first, he was quiet during sessions, giving one-word answers, staring at his shoes. But gradually, week by week, he opened up, talked about his fears, his anger, his confusion about his mother. It's okay to love her and be angry at her at the same time, Dr. Ivy told him gently. Both feelings can exist together. The nightmares decreased. Not gone completely, but less frequent, less intense. Oliver laughed more, played more, started sleeping through the night. 3 months after the custody ruling, Oliver and I stood on the beach, the same beach where I used to bring him when he was little. The sun was setting, painting the sky in oranges and purples. I'd bought him the Lego set he'd been saving for, the one Natalie and Dominic had stolen his money to buy. We'd spent all afternoon building it together. Dad, he was flying a kite, watching it dance against the wind. Yeah. Do you think Mom will ever get better? I considered my answer carefully. I think she's trying. She's in treatment, working on her problems. Whether she gets better depends on her, not us. Do you think I'll see her again? Maybe. When she's ready, and when you're ready. But only if it's safe. Only if she's earned that right. He nodded, processing this in that serious way of his. I'm not ready yet. That's okay. You get to decide when and if you're ready. Nobody else. The kite soared higher, a bright red diamond against the darkening sky. Oliver's face was peaceful, the bruises long healed, the fear slowly fading. Dad, thank you for fighting for me. I pulled him close, one arm around his shoulders. Always, buddy. Every single time. Grandmother Clara visited regularly now. She'd apologized to me privately after the hearing, tears streaming down her face, saying she should have spoken up sooner. I told her what mattered was that she'd found the courage when it counted. She and Oliver had a special bond. She'd take him for ice cream, to the park, tell him stories about his grandfather. Family in the best sense of the word. Dominic took a plea deal. 4 years in prison, no possibility of parole before serving at least 3. When Felix told me, I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no anger. Just emptiness where that threat used to be. Natalie completed her 90-day inpatient program. Her lawyer contacted Felix requesting a supervised visit. Oliver and I talked about it with Dr. Ivy present. I think I want to see her, Oliver said quietly. But I'm scared. That's brave, Dr. Ivy said. Being scared and doing it anyway, that's real courage. The visit was scheduled for the following week at a family therapy center. Neutral ground, therapist present, strictly supervised. 1 hour maximum. I didn't know how it would go. Didn't know if Natalie had truly changed, if Oliver was ready, if healing was even possible. But I knew one thing for certain. My son was safe, loved, and strong enough to face whatever came next. 6 months had passed since the custody ruling, and life had settled into something that felt almost normal. Oliver was thriving in ways I'd only hoped for back in those dark early days. His report card came home with straight A's and a note from Harper. Oliver has completely transformed. He's engaged, happy, and such a positive presence in class. The nightmares still came sometimes, but rarely now. Maybe once every few weeks instead of every night. When they did, I'd hear his door open, feel his small presence at my bedside, and I'd pull back the covers without a word. He'd climb in, and we'd both fall back asleep, him knowing he was safe, me knowing he was close. Dr. Ivy said this was normal, healthy even. Healing isn't linear, she'd explained. It's okay for him to still need reassurance. What matters is that he knows where to find it. The request for a supervised visit came through Felix in late March. Natalie had completed her 90-day inpatient program and another 3 months of outpatient therapy. Her counselors submitted documentation showing consistent attendance, participation in group sessions, and 90 days of verified sobriety. Her letter to the court was humble, taking full accountability without excuses. Felix forwarded me everything. Legally, she's met the requirements for requesting supervised visitation. But this is Oliver's choice. He doesn't have to see her if he's not ready. That evening, Oliver and I sat at the kitchen table with hot chocolate between us. I'd learned over these months that the big conversations happen best over food or drinks, something to occupy nervous hands. Your mom's lawyer contacted Felix. She's completed her treatment program, and she's asking if you'd be willing to see her. At the Family Therapy Center with Dr. Ivy there the whole time. Just 1 hour. Oliver stirred his hot chocolate, watching the marshmallows spin. Is she better? She's working on it. The program helped her understand her addiction and start dealing with it. But being better is a long process. It doesn't happen all at once. What if I say no? Then we say no. This is completely your decision, buddy. No one can force you to see her if you're not ready. He was quiet for a long time, that serious expression on his face that made him look older than 9. I think I want to see her. But I'm scared. Scared of what? That she'll be the same. Or that she'll say she's sorry, but not really mean it. Or that seeing her will make all the bad feelings come back. I reached across the table, put my hand over his. Those are all really smart things to be scared of. And you know what? It's okay to be scared and still do something. That's what bravery actually is. Is that what you learned in the military? I learned it from watching you, buddy. You're the bravest person I know. We scheduled the visit for the following Saturday afternoon. The Family Therapy Center was a warm, comfortable space designed to put kids at ease. Soft couches, toys in the corner, calming colors on the walls. Dr. Ivy was already there when we arrived, along with a supervisor named Janet who would observe and take notes. Natalie came in 5 minutes later. I barely recognized her. She'd gained back some healthy weight. Her skin had color again. Her eyes were clear. She wore simple clothes, jeans and a sweater, and carried no purse, per the center's rules. Her hands shook as she walked in. When she saw Oliver, her face crumpled. Hi, baby. Oliver stood frozen near the couch. Hi, Mom. The hour was awkward and painful and necessary all at once. They sat on opposite ends of the couch, while Dr. Ivy guided the conversation gently. Natalie, would you like to share what you've been working on in treatment? Natalie's voice was thick with tears. I've been learning about my addiction, about how gambling took over my life and made me make terrible decisions, about how I hurt the people I love most. She looked at Oliver. I hurt you, Ollie. I let someone hurt you because I was too scared and too wrapped up in my own problems to protect you. That was wrong. That was the worst thing I've ever done. Oliver's hands twisted in his lap. Why didn't you stop him? Because I was weak. Because I was scared of Dominic and scared of the people I owed money to. Because I convinced myself it wasn't as bad as it was. I made excuses instead of being your mom. And I am so sorry. Do you still owe money? No. The organization that I owed money to was shut down by the FBI. And I'm working now, paying my own bills, staying away from gambling. I go to meetings 3 times a week with other people who have the same problem. They help me stay strong. Oliver looked at her, really looked at her. Are you going to hurt me again? No, never. But I understand if you don't believe me. I have to earn your trust back, and that's going to take a long time. Maybe forever. But I want to try if you'll let me. The conversation continued, halting and emotional. Oliver asked hard questions. Natalie answered honestly, not making excuses, not minimizing what had happened. Dr. Ivy kept things on track, made sure Oliver felt heard and safe. When the hour ended, Natalie stood slowly. Thank you for seeing me, Ollie. That took a lot of courage. Oliver nodded but didn't move toward her. No hug, no physical contact. Just acknowledgement. On the drive home, Oliver was quiet, processing. How do you feel? I asked. I don't know. Confused, I guess. She seemed different. But I'm still mad at her. You're allowed to be both. You're allowed to see that she's trying and still be angry about what happened. Both feelings can exist at the same time. Did you forgive her? I considered this carefully. I forgive her for being human and making mistakes. I don't forgive her for what she let happen to you. But my forgiveness isn't what matters here. What matters is how you feel and what you need. I'm not ready to forgive her yet. That's okay. You might never be ready, and that's okay too. Or you might be ready someday down the road. There's no timeline on this, buddy. You get to decide. That night, after Oliver was in bed, I sat on the back porch with a beer, looking up at the stars. My phone buzzed. A text from Natalie. Thank you for letting me see him. I know I don't deserve it. I'm going to keep working on myself, whether he ever forgives me or not. You're a good father, Tristan. He's lucky to have you. I stared at the message for a long time before responding. He deserves better than what happened. We both agree on that. Keep doing the work. 3 weeks later, Oliver came to me with an idea. He'd been researching on the family computer, something about kids who'd been through bad situations. Dad, there's this program at school where kids can talk to other kids about hard stuff they've been through, like bullying or family problems. Mrs. Lewis told me about it. Yeah, I think I want to do it. Tell other kids that it's okay to tell adults when someone's hurting them. That being scared doesn't mean you're weak. Pride swelled in my chest so strong it hurt. I think that's an amazing idea, buddy. My son, turning his pain into purpose, using what he'd survived to help others. 1 year, 365 days since that phone call at 2:47 a.m. that changed everything. 365 days since I'd driven through empty streets to rescue my son from a locked bathroom. It felt like a lifetime ago. Oliver was 10 now, thriving in ways that still took my breath away. He'd grown 2 inches. His face had lost some of that little kid roundness, and his confidence had blossomed into something beautiful. He played soccer on Saturdays, had friends who came over for video games and pizza, and participated in the peer support program at school helping other kids who'd been through difficult situations. I want to tell them it gets better, he'd said when he first started. Because it does. It really does. The nonprofit organization was my way of turning our story into something meaningful. Veterans Custody Coalition, VCC for short. We helped former service members navigate custody battles, connected them with lawyers who understood military life, provided resources for PTSD support, and advocated for fair treatment in family courts. Kyle, Hunter, and Grant all joined as board members. Adrian handled investigations when needed. We'd helped 17 veterans in the past 6 months alone. Our story, anonymized, of course, became a rallying cry. Former SEAL fights for and wins custody of abused son. It resonated with people. Media outlets reached out. I did a few interviews, careful to protect Oliver's privacy, focusing on the message. Parents with PTSD aren't inherently dangerous. Service members can be incredible fathers, and children's safety should always come first. Natalie maintained her sobriety. 14 months now. She had monthly supervised visits with Oliver, always at the therapy center, always with Dr. Ivy present. The relationship between them was complicated, healing slowly, cautiously, like a bone that had been broken and needed time to knit back together. During one visit last month, Oliver had hugged her goodbye. Just briefly, just for a moment, but it was the first time since everything happened. Natalie had cried the entire drive home, she'd told me later. Happy tears, grief tears, grateful tears, all mixed together. I don't know if I'll ever have a real relationship with him again, she'd said. But seeing him happy and healthy, that's enough. That has to be enough. Clara remained a constant in our lives. She'd apologized 100 times for not speaking up sooner, and I'd told her 100 times that what mattered was she'd found the courage when it counted. She took Oliver every other Saturday for their special time, museum trips, bookstore visits, teaching him to bake her famous chocolate chip cookies. You're good people, Tristan, she'd said once. My daughter made a lot of mistakes, but she got one thing right. choosing you as Oliver's father. This particular Saturday morning, Oliver and I stood on the same beach where this whole journey had started to heal. The beach where we'd flown kites and had hard conversations and slowly rebuilt trust in the world. The sun was just rising, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. We'd built a sandcastle together, a massive, elaborate thing with towers and walls and a moat. He was too old for sandcastles, technically, but neither of us cared. It was about being together, about peace, about the simple joy of creation. "Dad," Oliver asked, patting down a turret, "can I ask you something?" "Always." "Do you ever regret it? Fighting for me like you did? All the court stuff and the stress and everything." I stopped what I was doing and looked at him. Really looked at him. This incredible kid who'd survived trauma and come out the other side stronger, kinder, braver. "Oliver, listen to me. Being a Navy SEAL taught me how to fight. It taught me tactics and strategy and how to survive impossible situations. But being your father taught me what's actually worth fighting for. Every courtroom, every hearing, every difficult moment. I'd do it all again in a heartbeat. You were the best thing I've ever done with my life." His eyes got wet. "I love you, Dad. I love you too, buddy. More than anything in this world." We sat there as the sun climbed higher, waves crashing against the shore, our sandcastle standing guard against the tide. "You know what I learned through all this?" Oliver said quietly. "What's that?" "That real strength isn't about fighting. It's about protecting people, about doing the right thing even when it's really hard. You could have hurt Dominic that night when he came to our door, but you didn't. You showed me there's a better way." I pulled him close, feeling his heartbeat against mine. "You're going to do amazing things with your life, Ollie. I can feel it. Maybe I'll be like you. Help people who can't protect themselves. Maybe you will. Or maybe you'll be something even better. Whatever you choose, I'll be right here supporting you." The morning stretched out before us, full of possibility and hope. Oliver ran down to the water's edge, laughing as waves chased his feet. I watched him, this resilient, beautiful soul who'd been through hell and emerged with his light intact. Being a SEAL had been about duty and honor and service. But being Oliver's father? That was about love. Pure, unconditional, fierce love that would move mountains and tear down walls and fight battles in courtrooms instead of battlefields. This was what victory looked like. Not medals or accolades or dramatic rescues. Just a father and son on a beach, building sandcastles and healing together, one day at a time. Before I let you go, I need to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. I love knowing where my audience is from around the world. And here's what I really want to know. What kind of stories do you want to hear more of? Betrayal stories? Revenge tales? Family conflicts? Military justice? Let me know in the comments what types of stories you're passionate about, and I'll bring you more of exactly what you love. If this story touched you, if Tristan and Oliver's journey moved you, show some love with a like and hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Until we meet again with another thriller, another epic revenge story, another tale of justice and redemption. Take care of yourselves and the ones you love. Because at the end of the day, that's what really matters.